Hey, folks. Welcome back to the 4099 podcast with your hosts, Dima and
Nick.
And today we have a really, really special guest in the building. Well, I guess the Zoom building.
Yeah.
Yeah, Javier, man. Let me give him a little introduction. He is a watch connoisseur, living on the West Coast, doing big things. If you love watches and if you know anything about watches, you should know about Javier because he is a YouTube influencer, I can almost say even.
Getting there.
Yeah, working on it. So, it's really, really good to have you here on the podcast, man. We really appreciate you coming on here and sharing a little bit about yourself. Hopefully we can start getting into that a little bit.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. I wish I could give you something nicer to look at than a white wall, but my roommate's in the other room where all my watch stuff is, so you got to deal with it.
Nah, no worries, man. They say simplicity is key, so that's.
I'm all about that. It keeps your brain like
focused on the conversation, you know?
There we go.
And that's important, If you're all scrambled upstairs, if you got pretzel brain, no, it ain't gonna happen.
Nothing's happening then.
Well, man, so let's I have a lot of questions for you, but I kind of want to start with, since you are the watch guy, I kind of want to start by doing a quick wristwatch check. What are you wearing today?
So today, I don't know if you can see it, I'm wearing my Visitor Linden. It is a micro brand out of Indiana. It's really, really cool guys. Basically, I met them once at a micro brand watch event.
Mm-hmm.
Just a really, really cool guy behind it. He has really refreshing designs. All of his watches are under $800. This one in particular is around the $600 mark. But I think for the quality you're getting, for the design you're getting,
mm-hmm.
and it's just pretty awesome. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, no, I love that watch. I'm really into new up and coming watch brands and watch companies coming out. I don't know how when was that watch micro brand and then also watch established,
Not off the top of my head. I know the micro brand's been around for, let's say, maybe 4, maybe 5 years.
Gotcha.
And the watch, this specific model has only been around for the past 1 year.
Okay.
Yeah, it was going to be introduced closer to when they first started, but basically they just went with other lines for necessary. Yeah. And then finally they started with this one.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, that's a beauty. I'm I'm rocking the Tudor Black. I don't know if you can see that, the Tudor Black Bay 58.
Oh, nice.
Folks on the camera. Nick is naked.
I'm strapless. I got to be ready for the fight.
True. You can always wear a GShock. It'll survive.
Exactly.
Actually, so that was a big thing in the Navy and military culture, G-Shocks.
Right. Yeah.
And everywhere. You can't walk by a dude and be like,
exactly.
what you got on? You already know.
It's a G-Shock. Yeah.
But yeah,
that's fun.
Yeah, they're very, very durable, last through anything, man. G-Shocks are definitely a staple in a watch collection.
That's a Casio, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like, oh man, I've seen some really high dollar G-Shocks.
Yeah.
And I've also seen some Casios go for $15-$20.
Yeah.
What a wide.
Yeah, I just love brands like that because they kind of cater to every audience. Something like Seiko, they literally make, couple maybe $20-$30 watches, and they go up to Grand Seiko, then Creedor, which goes up to $300,000, So you literally can go, no matter what your wallet has in it, you can get something.
Yeah. I like that too. Kind of the anything your wallet. That the main thing for me is if you have a brand that allows people, because the main thing is you want people that are enthusiasts, right? You want people that are really just so interested in just horology, which is for the folks that don't know, the study of time, and just the architecture and the effort that goes into making a watch. And if a person doesn't have the the wallet to buy a really expensive watch, it's always good to give them an option of a lower end kind of budget range watch,
a Nick watch.
Exactly.
A Nick watch. Yeah.
You don't have to have a lot of money to have fun,
My watch collections have consisted of a Power Rangers theme song watch.
Mm-hmm.
Open it up to listen to the song, watch the time.
Hell yeah.
There you go.
Hell yeah.
I had the calculator watch.
Yeah.
But
Classic.
Big old sausage fingers, so like I had to use like a pen or something to push the button.
Hitting 3 numbers at once.
Yeah, like this isn't gonna work very good on the test.
Yeah.
And then I got a watch from a good buddy of mine this past summer. I officiated his wedding for him, and he hooked me up with a sick Fossil.
Okay.
Yeah,
Nice.
Fossil's a classic brand. Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's something that I wouldn't have like reached for myself just because
Right.
I put my money primarily in my truck.
Yeah.
But I can appreciate that. So now, like when I go into like those like business like meetings and stuff, I don't look like a schlub.
Yeah, with your Power Rangers watch. Yeah.
You know.
Well, shit. Javier, let's get into you, man. I really want to ask you how you got into, watches and at first, and then we'll work from there.
Yeah, like what started that interest? That's what I want to get into.
Yeah, so apparently it was always there before I even knew it was there. My mom basically said when I was like a toy watches off of shelves and stuff, and just always kind of gravitated towards watches, I guess. But it didn't really start consistently. I was in about like 5th grade. I had this kind of like skull watch, had like a little skull on the face of the dial, had like a bund cuff. It was kind of like big and meaty in a way, but I thought it was really cool because it was a watch. It has a skull on it, and I was the baddest kid in the playground. Exactly. Rock on, and consistently for a year or so, and then I don't know if I lost it or what happened to it, but it went away. And then in maybe 6th, 7th, 8th, I got like $500 for like my birthday and Christmas combined because they're like right next to each other.
Hell yeah.
So I know, yeah. And basically for some reason I was like, you know what, I want to go buy a watch. So I went down to Macy's and I ended up buying a Fossil. And then I ended up buying a Guess watch that was like all black that I just really liked because it was like a stealthy kind of look to it. And I wore those pretty consistently for about 2-ish years. I gave one to my dad eventually just for Father's Day. And when I got up to high school, I just kind of just between classes, in classes and everything, I started researching watches more, looking into more watches, just prices, brands, everything. And then, yeah, that's where the addiction started.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, man. Yeah, I mean, my interest for watches actually just recently happened, probably within the last year or so, I'd say.
I'd say the last year and a half with you.
Yeah.
It came out of nowhere. It really
Right.
did. Because like this dude's always been a shoe goon. And
Right.
then like a year and a half ago, he was like, I'm thinking about a watch. And I was like,
Okay.
what do you mean thinking about a watch? Like, why?
It's a watch. Yeah.
I was like, you're thinking about a watch? Like, I don't know. It was just weird. It came out of the blue, left field. And then he starts like showing me all these like crazy watches. I was just like, that's a thing? It does that? And
Yeah.
the price points like definitely were like, I guess maybe that's like the major hang up for a lot of people is like the price.
Oh, yeah.
Point. But yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, I got into it like recently, I'd say, if you're looking at like, watch lover, I mean, history in general. I mean, this kind of community and this industry, the watchmaking industry has been around for hundreds and hundreds of years. I think, gosh, when would you say we first start seeing like the wristwatch come into play? Do you know
I believe it was like the early 1900s. Basically, Cartier put basically what was kind of almost the Santos design. They put it on the wrist of a pilot friend of his because the pilot friend wanted to wear a watch in the cockpit. But technically then there weren't really cockpits, but yeah, basically that's how it all started. The guy wanted a watch to wear while he was flying. They started the wristwatch thing, and then that's where it all kind of blew up. At first, wristwatches were kind of seen as more like a ladies thing. It was more elegant, it was more dainty, and guys had pocket watches. But
that train conductor.
Exactly. So yeah, and in the early 1900s, I believe it started kicking off more.
Yeah, no, that's like super interesting to even kind of talk about a little bit, is the fact that people going from pocket watches to wrist watches, and then even the evolution and the transition of like very small sized watches on the wrist to like bigger recently, I guess. bigger, like chunkier watches. And now we see it transitioning back to, you know, smaller, a little bit more compact watches, you know?
Yeah.
It's cool to kind of look at. But yeah, going back to you, man. So you said that around high school you started getting a little bit more serious with the watches and stuff like that. What when you did start, you know, really diving deep into you know, your love of watches, what watches were you looking at, and where were you taking a lot of your inspiration from?
Right. So, I mean, in the beginning, I was just kind of coming across different YouTube channels, just looking at, you know, what was the best value for this price, or what, you know, what was this watch at this price. And, you know, I was trying to definitely stay under that like $500 budget because I didn't have a lot of money in high school. I didn't have a job. So it was mainly like relying on birthday money. So yeah, at first I just kind of, just overall my style leans dressier. I like dressier watches. I like watches that are on the smaller size, and they just fit my small wrist better. So I started looking for some. I obviously looked at like Seiko, and then my first kind of mechanical, real, getting me into the hobby kind of watch was an Orient Star, around like 38 millimeters. It's very classic design, has like a domed mineral crystal, so like really, really classic design and just feeling to it. And yeah, I got that for my birthday around like, I don't know, I was like 16, 17 maybe. So yeah, I got that for my birthday. And then from there, I just tried to find any way I can to just get another watch. And I started selling watches, buying watches, flipping them after I got out of high school and was about to go into college.
Yeah, no, that's a really, really cool, interesting story, because it's like, you know, the first watch that I kind of like, you know, kind of fell in love with when I saw was my dad's Orient 5-star.
Right.
And I saw that watch, and it was like, I struck gold. You know, I was always like, at first it was more of like an attachment in a very.
Did you steal your father's watch?
No, I didn't steal my dad's watch. But it was, so it was actually not functioning, and it hasn't been used.
Oh,
it hadn't been used for like a very long time. And I was just so infatuated by it. I was like, I need to wear this watch. And so I eventually took it to you know, a repair shop and had someone repair it. And I just wore the hell out of that thing for, God, I mean, probably a couple of months. And then that's when, like, you know, I kind of put it down for a while. And then when this interest came back up for me, that was like the first thing I tried to find around the house was that watch. And then I found it, and I was like, all right, this is where it starts. Let me try to like get into this, you know, and when I do something, I try to like do deep dives, you know? And so I started, you know, researching like the history of, you know, watchmaking and just watches in general, and stumbled upon obviously Cartier and Rolex. Obviously that's like I guess that's the brand that everyone, I guess, knows. It's the most famous, you know, kind of.
Yeah, every time I ever went overseas, there's always some peddler in a back alley. He's like, my friend, come in. I have Rolex. Like, that's cool, man.
And you see it everywhere. That's how you know your thing. Yeah, like a brand is big is when people start to make like counterfeits or, you know, replicas and stuff like that of the watches. But yeah, no, I mean, yeah. So it all started for me, like I said, from that Orient 5-star, my dad's Orient 5-star. But then, you know, I started getting into it really heavy, and I came upon Grand Seiko.
Yeah.
And for the folks that don't know, Grand Seiko, I guess, would be considered the Rolex of Seiko, the Rolex of Japan, you'd say?
Somewhat, yeah. I mean, the best, easiest comparison to tell people who aren't super into watches is like it's Lexus and Toyota. You know, it's the luxury division of Seiko. It's completely different set of watchmakers. It's all hand finished, whereas Rolex is all like machine made. So it's a little bit like higher in the craftsmanship, but design wise, it's whatever you like, you know. But yeah, Grand Seiko got some crazy stuff out there.
Well, speaking of Grand Seiko, you were actually, this is how I came into contact with you was I was looking for a Grand Seiko. I really wanted a Grand Seiko. Everybody was talking it up so much. I, you know, started looking at all of the, you know, deep, I guess, like, you know, like the Reddit chats and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I came upon your video, man. You are reviewing the Grand Seiko that I actually have now.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, that's true. I forgot about that.
Yeah, so it was just looking at your video, you had such a clear and concise way of describing the watch for someone that hadn't held it yet in their own hands.
Yeah.
And you were just so like, I don't know. It's just there's a way that you presented the watch to me that it was like, all right, I need this freaking watch. It's something that I need to have in front of me and I need on my wrist in order to really find out like the true beauty of this thing, you know?
Right.
And speaking of Grand Seikos, they have, for the folks that don't know, Grand Seiko is one of the things that they're really well known for is the Zaratsu finishing on the watch, which essentially like is pretty much like a shiny crystal. I don't know how to even describe it. How would you describe it?
So Zaratsu, in case you don't want to get super technical, the easiest way to explain it is it's the same way that samurais polish samurai swords. So this is the same exact technique, but basically
I didn't know that was a thing.
Exactly, it's pretty cool. But describe what Zaratsu is. It's normal polishing for any general watch. You're basically taking kind of like whatever, kind of like, you know, some material and some kind of like application, like some kind of grease or whatever. Not exactly grease, but you know what I'm saying. Yeah. And you wipe it against like a brush to make it a shiny. With Zaratsu, you literally put some water on the case and you grind it against a stone until it becomes mere polished. So it's like incredibly difficult to do. You can't even imagine, like literally at Grand Seiko, there's only one guy who's completely trained in the art and he has one apprentice. So it's like they do all the cases. The apprentice is not allowed to work on gold, titanium, platinum, or rose gold. And the apprentice can only work on stainless steel. So it's like, wow. It's just crazy how like hand finished these watches are. And you can get one, again, the quartz retails at $2,200. Their cheapest spring drive is $3,800. So what you're getting for the money is just ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean,
I didn't know that they polish it with a damn rock.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like just even the concept of that, like making something shiny with a rock, like it doesn't even make sense, you know?
I mean, I've done some gnarly like shit that just sounds terribly hard and frustrating.
Yeah. It's equivalent to like a whetstone for like a knife or a sword, you know?
Like this is gonna take me forever. I'll see you guys in about a week and a half.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, that kind of just for the, you know, again, for people that, you know, aren't necessarily familiar with Grand Seiko or just, you know, anything watch related, that is, I mean, in the watch world, Grand Seiko is like, that is the thing that, or I guess one of the things that they're really well known for is that, you know, that finishing, that shiny watch that just at every angle of the watch that you know, you move it on your wrist and every angle of the watch, when the light hits it, it shines a different way. You know, it's really cool to experience. But yeah, when I got the watch, I showed it to Nick and Nick was like, what? All right, let me see what this is about.
All about. Yeah.
See, I got into this habit now, though, that I tell Dima not to let me hold things like that. I don't even want to touch it. It's like, I don't know. I feel like it's above me.
Oh, right. Yeah, no, I feel that. But I mean, the cool thing about watches is like most of the, I would say like 90, 80, the community is just really cool about it. They don't care. Like they just bought this $20,000 watch. Here, play with it, you know? So you just do meet like those really cool guys in the watch community who love to talk about watches. They love to get other people into watches. I've tried on, like literally just last week, I was wearing a $75,000 watch. So
oh my God.
You know, it just, that's like my college tuition right there. You know, it's above anything, but hey, the guy was like, hey, I don't care about it here.
Yeah, that's amazing. No, that's something else that we'll kind of talk a little bit about later on, is just the community in general. But I really just want to focus on your story.
Right.
So, you know, getting out of high school and you starting to kind of, you know, starting to flip watches and really just, you know, hold the watch in your hand and kind of see the market of, okay, this is worth this. And, you know, what if I flip it for this amount? What was that initial experience like? And after those, you know, first initial flips, did that turn into you buying a little bit more, you know, watches for yourself, or did you focus on flipping, or what was that narrative like?
Yeah, so it's kind of interesting. I mean, like, I'm the kind of guy who wants a small collection. So it's like right now I literally have probably like 15 watches, and it's just it's more than anyone needs, but also I like them, so who cares?
Yeah.
So yeah, when I got out of high school, it was the summer. I mean, I started my first job. I started getting money. The first expensive watch that I put a lot of money into, it was like a paycheck and a half. And I bought a Tudor Prince date with a linen dial.
Oh,
It was from like the late 1990s. It was gorgeous. What happened though was the seller lied, and he said it was like 35.5 millimeters, but it was actually 32 millimeters.
oh,
So it's a super small watch considering mainly people wear like 40 millimeters. So it's a huge
right.
difference. When I got it in, I was kind of like, ooh, am I even going to like this? But luckily I have a small wrist. It didn't work too badly. And I wore that or so before I sold it. But yeah, so I started getting into more watches. The first one I started with the whole flipping was there was this Zodiac Seawolf that was listed for like $300 on eBay, and these retail for like technically $1,000. They sell in the secondary market for around like 700, 600. And I was like, wow, 300. And basically it was kind of like a watch shop, like a Macy's or something like that, who basically said, we messed up the bracelet. We're selling only the watch head. And I was like, okay, yeah, I'll put a bid in and see if it works. And then I got it in. It was a really cool watch. I really enjoyed it. But then I was like, sell this, I can get another watch without having to spend more money. So that sounds cool. And I ended up posting it on Reddit, where I sell most of my watches, and posted it on Reddit. In about a day or so, someone offered me a trade for like a vintage Omega. And I was like, you're kidding, I've been wanting a vintage Omega. So then that's the downhill slope of trading, buying, selling, just losing lots of money that I shouldn't have lost. But I think a lot of people think that, hey, I'll be able to sell this watch and get my money back. And it's like, no, you're usually going to lose a good like 20, 30% on most watches, unless you bought them pre-owned at a really good price already. But I mean, at this point, I've literally owned probably like 80 watches. And it's a big number.
Yeah.
I've lost literally thousands by selling and flipping and all that. But I mean, in my point of view, I don't see it as losing money. It's more like I've spent that money to experience what I have. I still have enjoyed all the pieces I've owned. Some of them I haven't enjoyed too much, but it's just that like hands-on experience. It's that seeing, oh, this is what a $400 watch is. This is what a $1,000 watch is. This is what a $4,000 watch is. It's just knowing kind of that difference where the diminishing returns start kicking in. Companies offering this at $400 is a ridiculous value, So it's all these things you start learning once you actually get hands-on experience with watches.
All right, I got this next question. All right,
what's up?
Since we kind of covered your like vast exposure to watches, like your experiences with them, give me your top. I'm not gonna put a number to it. Just your top favorites, like your top, like these ones are like the get 'ems, like gotta have 'ems.
Okay.
And then give me your top bottoms. Does that make sense? Like the ones.
Yeah, I got you.
Like,
I got you.
Like these are trash dog. These are like some dog shit. Don't touch them.
Okay. So of course, start with the good and go to the bad. But for the top, it's going to be one that I won't have for a long, long time. But it's going to be, I feel like, I'm pretty sure it's called the Elangen Zone Langmatic. And basically, it's this really beautiful watch. I believe they're around like 20, 30 grand. So it's like, this is a watch I'm wild to get. But it's a German company. They do these really, really unique designs. It's just beautiful craftsmanship, beautiful design. There's nothing out there that looks like it. So hopefully one day I'll have one of those. At the number 2 spot, I would say it's the Grand Seiko SPGA 407, which is commonly known as the Skyflake. If everything goes good, I should have one in the next week or two.
Oh,
so, yeah. So that one is in the collection. I've been wanting that watch since it came out. It's a gorgeous watch. Basically anything from Grand Seiko is just awesome, because if you don't know about spring drive, just read up on it a little bit. Once you see spring drive in person, it's ridiculous, because the difference between that and a regular mechanical is a regular mechanical, no matter what brand you go for, Rolex, a Langen Zone, if you're spending $10,000 or you're spending $100,000, most of the time they all have a tick to them, no matter how fast it is. You can see there's a stutter to the second hand. Spring drive is a new, completely proprietary technology where literally the second hand glides without any stoppage. It's literally it looks unnatural because nothing in the world is perfect, but it looks like it's a perfect sweep. So it's confusing, it's beautiful, it's all this wrapped into one. So that's probably
Yeah.
number 2. Yeah.
That's called spring drive.
Spring drive. Yeah. It's crazy.
So like, do you have to like wind that up or anything?
Yeah, so the spring drive works exactly the same a regular mechanical would. So like Adima's tutor right there, it works exactly the same way. The only difference is it has an extra component, which is a quartz crystal and a low power IC unit, and then some magnets too. It's a little complicated, but basically all it does is it works the same way as a regular mechanical, but some of the energy is converted into electric energy to power this little unit, and then it references the quartz crystal to keep it accurate. And then if it's not accurate, it applies a magnetic field to either speed up or slow down the seconds hand.
That is insanely.
It took 20 years and over 600
man.
prototypes to perfect. And it's a ridiculous technology. The fact that you can get one for $3,800, whereas if Rolex came out with it, it'd be like at least 50 grand, you know?
Yeah.
You're wearing this insane technology on your hand.
Exactly.
Well, that's something that I love. I mean, going back to exactly the that spring drive, I've been fortunate enough to stick along in the comment section of, I can't remember what video exactly, but somebody described it as you literally seeing your life like like just sweep. Like when you look at the spring drive and the clean sweep, it's almost like you're a part of time in that moment, because it, like, time is just, I don't know. There's just something. There's a different experience with that.
I can imagine that giving a lot of listeners anxiety.
almost. But if you're a watch nerd, it becomes beautiful. So
yeah.
All right, continue, please.
Trying to think of a number 3. Honestly, number 3 to go with like a little bit of like a lower end. Honestly, anything from like Visitor. Again, Visitor. It's personally like the Visitor Linden I have. It literally has one of the best block dials I've ever experienced. Because the best way to qualify it is basically saying it looks like ink, like fresh ink. It's just so deep and black and rich, and that's really cool. And I guess for like the lower watches, there's not like a bunch of like crappy watches I've held or anything, but something I would say is, it's controversial in the watch community, but I would say Patek is crazy overrated. I don't like their designs. Again, this is a brand that goes for like 20 grand, 50 grand, $100,000. So although it's one of those status brands, it's almost like the rich person's version of a Rolex. It's something.
Patek.
Yeah, Patek Philippe. Yeah. There's something that they're very expensive. Of course, yeah, the handmade quality is there, but I find their designs a little dated, a little boring, a little too starkly missing some interest. So personally, I would never own one. To add to like the ones I really love, FP Journe.
Oh man,
amazing watches.
Yes,
amazing watches. One day I hope I own a Chronometra Blue, but apparently the wait lists are like 10 years out, so like I'll probably never own one of those.
It's like Super Bowl tickets.
Yeah, exactly. And then another point of contention is a watch I didn't really love owning was the Sarb series from Seiko.
Mm-hmm.
I used to own a Sarb Zero. Like in the watch community, it's like, oh, this is the best watch you can get for the value, for the money. It's only around $300-$400, but you're getting so much more than that. And for me, when I do too much things at once, it was trying to be dressy, it was trying to be sporty, it was trying to be casual. And for me, it just didn't fit any of those boxes perfectly. So that was a watch I just kind of was led into buying by the community and didn't love myself. And other than that, there's not really much. I mean, nowadays watches are pretty good unless you're going to go for like some fashion brand like Daniel Wellington or Vincero. These brands, while I don't particularly hate their designs, and a lot of the times they do really, really good with their color palettes, it's just that what you're paying is not equivalent to what you're getting from like a similar brand. But if you like the design and you just want a cool watch that looks good, I mean, good on you. It's fine. It'll work. It'll probably last years. It's just, if you want to be a little bit watch nerdy, money.
Yeah, and to kind of touch on, a couple of notable watches that you've mentioned in your list. I mean, let's start with the Sarb series Seiko. If people aren't familiar with that, it's under the Seiko branch. It's a Seiko watch, not a Grand Seiko, but people say that if you buy the SARB series Seiko, it's essentially like buying a Grand Seiko, but like just because it's so similar in design.
It's called the baby Grand Seiko.
The baby Grand Seiko. There we go. Perfect.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, and a lot of people. Oh, go ahead and crack that one, Nick. There we go.
There we go.
I was gonna get a dribble.
Oh.
Yeah. So the community, the watch community, really. I guess I hear a lot of reviews. I hear a lot of like, this is something that you really need, and then I hear a lot of this is like. This was hyped up too much, So, so yeah, that's something that I wanted to add for the folks that don't really know exactly what we're talking about. We also have pictures for every watch that we mentioned up on the screen.
That was basically for me because I just want to make a side comment here. These watches have spectacular name schemes. Like, I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of them was called a Seawolf.
Yeah.
It was wild. Skyflake. What?
Skyflake's really cool. Yep. Yeah. It's because it has this really nice light blue dial that looks like the sky.
Exactly.
Technically, it's supposed to represent the color of the sky on like freshly fallen snow. It's like a ridiculous like story to it, but it's a cool watch.
Yeah, and then you have the Patek Philippe that you mentioned, and Patek, like Javier kind of mentioned, is definitely one of the Holy Trinity watches, because you have, that's also a thing, like the watch community has a Holy Trinity, the three watch brands that essentially
they're at the top. They can't do no wrong. They're amazing. They build the best stuff on earth,
Would you like to name the three?
Supposedly they're supposed to be Patek, Vacheron, and Audemars Piguet, I believe.
Yep, you're right. Yeah. Yep, that's it. That's the three.
Never heard of any of
those three. Those
AP
three.
You've heard brands? Of if you listen to rap at all. Trust me.
Oh yeah, AP for sure. You've heard of.
I have?
Yeah, and Patek you've heard of too.
All right.
But I'll make sure to I'll make sure to show Nick after this. But enough of the specifics. I really want to get into the watch community and you starting your YouTube channel and kind of how that started, and then as you were kind of trying out the YouTube channel, we can actually touch on the watch community, because I'm sure you've come into contact with a lot of people in the watch community by doing YouTube.
Yeah. I mean, I started my channel a little over a year ago. I wish I would have started it sooner. It was kind of like an idea I had in the back of my mind, but I was like, do I really want to? Do I want to devote the time? I'm still in school. I'm just still doing all these things. I have a job. So, and trust me, YouTube still does take some time out of the day.
Mm-hmm.
But basically I started it because, one, I'm a young guy, whereas most YouTube reviewers aren't as young as I am.
Especially doing watch reviews and watch channels too.
Exactly. And it's just a nice thing because I feel like it gives a different perspective on the watches. And it's also, I guess I don't necessarily have the normal student budget because I allocate a lot of my money to watches. But, it just kind of gives an idea of, if you save, you can get something like this, But yeah, with my channel, I just kind of started it because, again, I was flipping and buying and just selling so many watches. I was kind of like, I'm experiencing all these watches. Why not just document it? Why not give my take on it? And some of these watches that I was going for weren't kind of like the most popular models that people do go for. Maybe there weren't a lot of YouTube reviews on them, just maybe not a model that people really think of when they think of a certain price point or a certain type of quality. Like one of my favorite watches ever is the Zodiac Seawolf.
Mm-hmm.
It looks a lot like a watch my dad used to have. I like it so much I literally bought two of them in my collection. They're definitely differently styled, so they do look like different watches. They're just under the same like sub brand or sub genre or whatever.
Right.
But I was just experiencing all these watches and started the channel, and it just kind of blew up from there. I definitely didn't get a lot of views at first. I was just asking people, hey, please, subscribe, so I at least have some subscribers so it shows up more in like other areas. But yeah, I mean, a lot of my first videos didn't get many views, and that's fine. I'm not really in it for the views. I'm just in it to document my journey, document my feelings about things. And if someone finds it helpful, if someone doesn't buy a watch and saves some money, or does buy a watch and you know, hopefully they like it. I'm happy to help. But I think the biggest point of my YouTube came when I was mentioned by like another YouTube channel called Just Bluefish. He was basically doing a kind of list of like up and coming channels, and I think I was only at like maybe a little over 100 subscribers at that time. And when he mentioned me, I went to like 300 the next day. So it's like that kind of gave me a nice like bump and just kind of set me on my path to get more viewers, get more subscribers, get myself out there more, which was nice, you know.
Yeah, no.
I feel like that's a cool way to like really expand on your experiences. Like what you'll be able to do is it'll become this like centrifugal thing that feeds into you that you can put back into it, and that's kind of cool.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, doing a YouTube channel takes time. It takes money. I mean, obviously, I almost make the excuse of buying watches now because like, oh, I can review it, you know, and then I end up losing like $50 or $100. I'm like, ugh, I shouldn't have done that. But hey, I got, you know, a YouTube, you know, I haven't made any money from YouTube. I'm not making any money. I haven't had any sponsorships or anything. But it's fun to do. It's just, you know, my hobby, my passion. And, you know, I wouldn't go back and change anything.
Yeah, no, I mean, so after you kind of started doing the YouTube thing and you started reviewing your watches, and then, you were mentioned in that, the top kind of up and coming watch channels. Did you have, several people from the community reach out and kind of have a couple conversations with people within the watch community? And how was that experience like in general?
Yeah, I mean, not overly so, especially when I was first starting out my channel and when I was like a lot newer. I definitely reached out to people through Facebook. I didn't at that point. I didn't even have an Instagram at that point. I literally started my Instagram because I started the channel. And yeah, I just started reaching out to people. I'm like, hey, can you watch this video? Give me some pointers. Tell me like, what you like, what you don't like, what I should do different. Is there anything that isn't great about it, because I mean, criticism, whether constructive or not, can't always help. So I was really looking for that in the early days. And one of my earlier videos were like around the 18, 19, 20 minute. I think I even had like a 30-minute video. And now they're kind of falling more in like the 12 to 15, maybe 16 range, which is a lot more manageable for some people.
Right.
So yeah, overall, I started talking to some people in the community. It was more, the most I got into the community was going to like local watch events. I would talk to people there. I would see, new watches. I would get hands-on with watch Rolex models that I'm just never going to buy because they're just both ridiculously priced, and I'm not going to deal with snooty ADs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, basically, as long as you go for the actual people in the watch community, it's a great experience. I've even had this one guy, I was talking to him. First time I met him, he was literally about to leave, and then we ended up talking for like 30 minutes. And then somehow it got slipped in there that I, do a YouTube channel on the side. And this man had a collection that probably totaled, 15, 20, 30 grand in watches.
Wow.
And he was just like, hey, if you want, you can just review my watches anytime. It's all cool. And I was like, wow, I just met you. That's cool. Awesome. Thank you. Unfortunately, I haven't reviewed any of his pieces yet because Corona hit and stuff. And I don't want to be like, hey, just give me your watches right now, So it's more about, I don't want to be using you. I actually want to be friends with you,
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, every time I've had experience with actual watch people in the watch, it's nice to just talk watches, nerd out, have some fun. It's when you start going into like maybe higher end retailers, it gets a little bit snooty, pretentious. They look down on you because you're young or you're not wearing something expensive or you don't look rich or things like that. And apparently what I found out is, since I now work in the retail, is that it's an old school tactic of basically rich people have never been talked down to. They've never been said no to. They're surrounded by yes men. You go into a retail environment and the person says, no, I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to look at you. I don't want to help you. It's giving them that kind of almost like kink experience. Like it's new to them. They kind of don't like it, but they also do like it. It's a weird like reverse psychology thing. There was like a big story a while back where Oprah went into some store. The attendant didn't want to help her at all. So she ended up buying every bag in the store.
Wow.
just to prove that she's worth it. And of course, people came out and like, oh, look how racist people are. There was just some woman who they didn't want to help. But as a salesperson, it goes, wow, look at the commission that girl got. Oprah to buy every single bag in the store, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it's a tactic, and sometimes it works on people, sometimes it doesn't. But it's more of that old guard, old world style of selling to people.
Speaking of old world style, I'm waiting for you in the parking lot.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
you're
exactly.
right. I can't afford these bags.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Well,
Just kidding. I'm not waiting in the parking lot. I got better shit to do.
yeah, we don't.
But it is that attitude. It's very unwelcome here.
Oh
yeah, no. I mean, we're super. We try to have a very positive environment, accepting of all, you know, anyone basically. And you know, unfortunately, you know, in the watch world, that's what it is, man. That's you know, you go into an AD. For the folks that don't know, ADs are authorized dealers, and you know, really high end watch companies essentially give these watches to the ADs so that they can sell the watches for them. And they make commission, because this is exactly what I was actually, to start wrapping this thing up, was I was going to ask you, now that you work, are you working at an AD? Are you working at a retail?
I'm not working at an AD. I'm working at what is considered like a boutique. So I work for like the brand directly.
Okay.
I can't, it's all, you know, like PR stuff and, you know, whatnot. But basically it's nicer because you don't have a bunch of brands. You single in that one brand. You have a lot of stock of that one brand.
Mm-hmm.
And the brand I work for in particular, it's nice because the brand is not snooty. The sales associates don't look down on anybody. You know, I've had anyone from like a 15-year-old to, you know, 50-year-olds come in and look at watches wearing anything from like a Timex to a Patek. You know, it's you don't discount anybody for any reason. You know, you service everybody, you be nice, because you never know, one, who's a potential buyer, and you just want to give someone a good experience. There's no reason someone who is either into the hobby or interested in the hobby should go in and feel bad about going in. You know, it's like watches are literally meant to be a fun hobby. And if you go in and you treat them like crap, it's not fun anymore. So it's like you're not only
ruined it for everybody if you do that.
Exactly, you ruined it for everybody. You're shying away not only potential buyers, but you're shying away just, you know, people who are interested in the hobby. They want to have fun, and you just ruined it for them, you know.
Yeah. So what, if you don't mind us asking, I don't know, you know, exactly how much you can get into it, but what brand exactly are you, you know, selling watches for? And you know, on top of that, how'd you get into that? And you know, what's the, I know you talked a little bit about it already, but how has the overall experience been for you?
Yeah, official brand, because that's the whole issue with HR and stuff like that. But basically the reason I got the job is I'm a watch nerd, and I hung out. I guess I can't say I work on Rodeo. Rodeo Drive in Los Angeles, but basically I would go there on my free time, you know, when I didn't have school, when I didn't have tests coming up or something like that, and just walk around the street. This particular boutique, I would stop in all the time, just talk to the guys. And I ended up buying a watch from there, even though I would never have thought of buying a watch at full retail, especially when I can buy it at, you know, cheaper on used or something. But basically They treated me so nicely. They were, you know, gave me such a nice experience that I was like, you know what, I don't mind, you know, spending the $200-$400 extra to just be a part of this, you know. But basically, yeah, I ended up spending a lot of time in that boutique. I ended up buying a watch from there. I got invited to events because I bought a watch from there. Just went to all of them. Unfortunately, one of the guys literally got in a skateboarding accident, broke his shoulder, and he was out of work for like 6 months.
That's awful.
So yeah. And that's literally the guy who sold me the watch. So I was like, oh man, I'm sorry. But basically that boutique was hurting for employees. So I was just always there. And the guy who was there was like, dude, just like put in an application. I'll put in a good word. You can work part-time. Like we'll work something out. Like obviously you have to be interviewed and stuff still, but you know, I'll do what I can to see if you can get hired. And, you know, I put in an application, I had to wait like a couple of weeks. And then I talked to someone, you know, higher up in the company who flew in from New York to interview me.
Oh, wow.
I passed, and I've been working there since about late December.
Yeah.
So it's been a fun experience. Again, you kind of start to realize like how much money people have. People will come in there never hearing of the brand, just drop 10,000, and it's just like, I don't know where you got money, but I want some too, and it's just crazy to see kind of like how the other half lives in a way. But usually I have, with my brand in particular, like no one comes in who's super like snobby or rude, or every once in a while you get someone who's like only a Rolex collector and they just want to come in to basically talk down to the brand and be like, oh, it's not a Rolex though. And it's like, that's cool. I mean,
but it ain't
that's
no
cool.
Rolex.
Yeah, basically. But it's been really fun. Again, I get to work part-time in my hobby and get paid for it. So I literally couldn't think of like a better way to spend my time. It's just fun. I get to look at pretty watches all day.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a win. That's a win-win for, I guess, everybody.
Yeah, exactly.
Except for the skateboard guy.
Except for the skateboard guy. Is he doing all right?
He did literally end up getting like a watchmaker position at one of the Holy Trinity. So man, he's doing okay. He's doing
good.
He's probably not mad about it.
He's not mad.
Well, shit, everybody won.
Everybody won.
Everyone won in that position.
Hell yeah.
Well, dang, we've had such an amazing conversation. I guess to wrap this thing up,
we have a little tradition here on the show.
Okay.
Where everyone that comes in, we like to take a picture of them. And we have a little wall of guests. And would you like to join?
Of course, I can't skip on tradition.
All right, I'm gonna have to turn this thing on. I feel like a dad in the 80s.
It's okay. A Polaroid.
It's okay.
Yeah, no, it's.
I got it on.
Oh yeah, and then so it's the red button to
right.
shoot.
All right, Javier, I want you to smile real big, buddy.
There we go. I'll get a watch shot in there.
Ha-cha!
Perfect. There we go. We'll flip that down.
Damn, I'm out of film.
we'll take care of that later. Well, Javier, thank you so much for, again, coming on the show. Really just giving us your ears and kind of talking us through your story. And also letting the beautiful viewership and listeners also, I guess, give them some insight into, what the watchmaking world is like and what anything from, retailing, selling watches to just the community and your own personal experience with watches. So to wrap this thing up, I kind of want to ask you to plug yourself and give the folks viewing and the folks listening your YouTube details or anything that you kind of want to. We're giving you the platform to kind of share what you have going on.
Say what you got to say.
Yeah, of course. I mean, basically, you can find me on Instagram at nights.watch, me on YouTube at the Nights Watch. Don't know why I didn't make those the same thing, but it just happens like that. Basically, just really quickly, the reason why it says Nights is because my middle name is Knight. So there's that. It's not a Game of Thrones reference. Yeah. That's all me. I mean, if you ever want to talk watches, you want to maybe purchase a specific watch, you want to see what I'm selling. I also sell on Reddit as Xavier K. Sanchez. So
there you go.
Yeah, just hit me up on anything. I'm more than willing to talk watches, help you through a purchase, anything like that.
Well, thanks so much again, Javier. And folks, thanks for tuning in again to the 4099 podcast with your hosts, Dima and Nick. And we'll see you on the next one.
Thanks, bud.